Hello everyone, hope you all had a lovely day, and today I'm going to be talking about Destiny 2 settings. Right, first thing I'm going to say, first thing we're going to talk about is look sensitivity and ADS sensitivity. Look sensitivity is the sensitivity you use for looking around, well, your character looks around. Default is like 5. I would recommend when choosing your settings, keep it at a 5. Don't touch it and then what you have to do is play around with it a bit until you find one which you're comfortable with, and then if you find one you like, stick with it for at least a week. Once you find all your settings out in this video, I'm not going to suggest you any. This is how to know how you can make your settings to suit you. And you have to, when you create your sensitivity, and this is really just a thing with look sensitivity and ADS, you have to be give it at least a week for you to get used to it, for you to give it this proper go before you say, oh, it's not working for me. A week to 2 weeks. If you don't, then after 2 weeks, for certain, if you're not getting on with it, then that's a definite, alright, you need to change the sensitivity. The reason I'm saying you need to give it at least a week to 2 weeks is because when you change the sensitivity, you need to give yourself time to get used to it. If you're doing it, oh, you're not liking it, next day you're not giving yourself the time to get used to it, and it will cause you it may end up being a very nice sensitivity later on, and you may actually regret it. What I will say is, when you're finding it, put it in the middle. So for look sensitivity, it's 5. My favorite look sensitivity is 6. And then if it feels too slow, you turn it down. If it feels too high, you turn it up. And then I move on. And then I'm going to talk. Okay, so now I've talked a bit about this. I'm going to talk about ADS. ADS is the same. You usually should do look and then ADS. Now, I've been playing this sensitivity for a good week or 2 now, and because I changed it up a couple of weeks ago, and this is enough time. This is usually good. Now I'm hitting my crits and stuff. The only issue is sniping. When I'm using a sniper, even just in PvE, I'm struggling to hit my shots, so I'm going to turn my ADS down one. Whenever you touch your sensitivity, whenever you're putting it up or down, you always move it up one with ADS and look. Up one if it's too slow. If it's too quick, you turn it down one. Give it a little bit, maybe a day or two, and then you can decide then, okay, this. But and that way you can get that comfortable sense where you can say, okay, it's time for me to give it a week to 2 weeks. If I don't like it, I can change it. It can take you a bit of time to get very comfortable with your sensitivity. And I know I'm going on about this a lot, but these are the 2 major sensitive things in the settings which you need to know how to set up correctly, because if you don't, it can really affect your performance as a player, and you can probably do so much with the correct sensitivity compared to the incorrect sensitivity. There is a massive improvement. So what I'm going to talk about next is the actually, no, I didn't mention something. What I was going to say, when you're touching these, usually you would have a slow sense for more passive you go. So by what I mean about is your distance. So passive are people who stay really far back. Aggressive are people who are really pushy up close. Most people know that about these sort of games, but it's good worth mention. So yeah, if you're sniping, you might have your look as like a 2, and then if you're aggressive, you might have your look as like an 8. So that's just something to keep it in mind, and it's the same with the ADS. And that's why I had to turn it down one, because I do play pretty aggressively as a player, but in Vanguard is really the time I use snipers. I don't often use snipers in Crucible, but I have it at 0.9 because of the fact I've turned it to 0.9 to see how far I like it, because I am struggling to hit my crits a bit with a sniper, so I've turned it down. Okay, so I don't play with not inverted. Again, inverted is just personal opinion. Inversion is just when you move your stick up. So not inverted is what I'm doing now, is when you move your stick up, it goes up. Inverted does the opposite with your stick. So say you move your stick downwards, it will move my marker, or as you can see here, it's on the screen, up. Or if I move it to the right, if I move my stick to the right, it would go to the left. It's not doing it right now because I'm not touching inverted, but that's what it does. Auto look centering. Okay, this auto look center. Okay, I actually don't know a lot about this. Auto look centering, I assume, just makes it so when you look, it might put it to centering. I'm gonna go in more detail. I don't know a lot about that setting, but I think it's about I'm gonna make another video on these settings. I don't know enough about all these settings, so I can't cover all of them in full detail, but I assume that by look centering, it means every time you look and you're not in your sights, it's going to automatically put you in the center of the screen, or it might be like when you're not touching your controller or that. That's what I'm going to assume. Don't take me for this, I'm not 100% certain. I think that's it. The thing which I do know though is sprint turn scale, and this, when you're sprinting, changes your turn. So I'm like at 0.4. 0.4 is the default, and you can turn this higher or that. It again, if it this is personal preference, just like look, sense, and ADS. I play 0.4, but actually saying about for turns, I would like to turn up a little bit. So I'm going to put this at 0.5, maybe 0.6. Again, for higher for sensitivity, less of a need to touch this sprint turn scale. And I'm going to go into a bit more detail of that right now. Okay, so I'm going to talk about sprint turn scale now, again in a bit more detail. So I've already noticing a massive difference with just turning up one. You usually move a lot more slower, maybe something a bit more like that, as you know, a bit faster than that, but I am noticing a bit more of a difference. I have only turned it up one, but again,
we'll get them next time.
I've turned it up. Okay, Devrin, thanks for ruining my guide. Anyways, what I was going to say is, so what I was going to say is, when you're running a high sensitivity, I've took a photo, so I know, say we'll have it at like 10, and you turn your sprint and you think, oh, your sprint turn's going to be slow, we're going to turn it up. Okay, your max is 8. You're going to be moving, and when you're going to be turning it, it's going to be like this. This really doesn't really help. As you can see, I'm moving, I'm turning, it's really quick, I'm not going anywhere. you really don't want a high sensitivity with almost max sprint turn, because you're going to be in that boat of just not actually being able to move. You're just going to be turning, and it's not going to be helpful at all. You're just going to be running around almost as if you were a headless chicken. So that is why don't do that with a high. Another thing is control of vibration. I recommend turning this off. It just adds another thing happening while you're in fight situations. So just to make things easier on yourself, I would turn this off. And the double press delay is another thing I don't know loads about, but what it means is all it about why you would. But what I do know is with double press delay, I've got it on 1, so you just tap it once, that's it. With double, you could change it, but you got to tap it twice, it will do something. Or 3 times or 4 times, all the way up to 5, and it even says it there as I'm saying it now. So that's what double press delay does. That's another thing I need to look at more in detail. Next thing I'm going to say is field of view. There's a lot of detail which goes into certain of these settings. The main one, which a lot of people have made videos on, is this one, the FOV, also known as the field of view. The field of view changes where you look on a screen. How much you can see on the screen. So as you can see this much. I'm just gonna stand still here, and then if I go into my settings, and if I go over to OK, let's turn this to something more like 80. I don't know if you can tell if there's a difference. So there's 80, just okay. If I'm not like that, that's at 80. If I turn it down to 75, oh, it's okay. Has it not saved? Oh, it hasn't applied. Oh, okay. We'll try 80. Yeah, you can see a difference. So that's 80 on my field of view. If I change it back to 75 and apply for change, yeah, there's definitely a difference. And just with that 5, you can see. So you can, if you didn't see, you can go back a bit, and I was looking at this corner of this building, and you can see like there's more of it. You can see, whereas there is with the 80 than it is 75. So that's something which is used to help. Now I probably might actually turn this up a bit for myself later on, but I've been getting on pretty well with 75. Yeah, and the next thing I will say is have your Sfx volume to max, because this is more to do with Crucible, but it improves your awareness so much. As you can see, I can hear these really well. If I was looking the other way and I heard that, I can already tell that they're behind me just without looking on my radar, and I know my radar is on the top left hand side of my screen. So that's but no, I could already tell just by that. So the next thing I'm going to be talking about, and my last thing I think I've got to talk about with these settings, old gameplay, thing, reticle color. This is what I wanted to talk about. Yeah, there's colorblind mode, hard capacity. I don't know a lot about these settings, so I'm not going to tell you anything about them. What I do know is reticle color. Now reticle color, again, does what it says, changes the color of it. I'm just going to go over here real quick. Now, I'm not in one right now, but there are places, it's again more PvE than PvP, but there are also certain maps where they do have dark areas too in PvP. One thing I wouldn't advise people doing is changing your rect. As you can see there, all the colors. I would not recommend using black. Out of all the other colors, use any of the ones but black. The reason why I'm telling you this is because there are dark corners in the map. It can be difficult to see your reticle. I'll go into a bit more. I'm going to make a more of a video on aiming about PvP, etc, etc. That is an idea I've got in mind, and going into a bit more like why you want to use your reticle for helping you aim. And if it's black and you're in a dark place and you can't see it, it's not going to be helpful at all. Now, I'll keep mine as a default white. I'm happy with the default white. So, yeah. The only other thing is the social stuff, but this is all just your own personal things. It's just pretty easy to set up by itself. It doesn't really need an explanation. What I will say is, the only thing I would say is the whisper chat is like for text. So when you type into something, and I've got that as can friends only. So, but that is all I've got. Oh no, that is all I really wanted to say about the main settings. I know this sounds like an outro, but that was just the main key. That was the a lot of it. Want to do with settings. The last things which I want to mention, and I should have actually mentioned this earlier before I went on to rect color and all of that, but I thought it would be better to just do that now and then. Is we're going to go back over to loot sensitivity and ADS sense, and this is going to be how you can test your sensitivity. So if I go into a lost sector real quick, the nearest one is actually over here. Have I gone into the outskirts? Yeah, I have. Okay. Well, I'm gonna head. So there is a way. I just need to find an enemy. If it's in a lost sector or not, it doesn't matter. But I need to find an enemy. This is a test you can do. And what you do is you find an enemy. Now I don't want to touch that. That's a public event. I don't want to get involved to a public event right now. Alright, there's enemies in here. So what I'm gonna say is that you see this drag here. If you can track what he is doing, like what I'm tracking him pretty well, so I've probably got a good sensitivity on his head. If you can track his head really well, it means that you're most likely got a perfect sensitivity. You've most likely got a perfect sensitivity for you. That's your test. The only other thing you can really do, this is the only test I know of. If people know any other ways you can test yourself, you know, it would be helpful to let people know in the comments, because we should be helping as many people as you can, new or intermediate or that. What I will say is the only other way is to know how to change sense is when you personally feel like it's too sluggish or too fast. That is the only way. That is the only other way I know, and you will know because you will struggle to hit your crits, and that will be because it's slow or too fast, because you want to be hitting those crits to get, because they do the most damage to enemies. Okay, so that is it for me. I hope you guys have all enjoyed. If you found this helpful, please like the video. If you guys want to see more guides out, if you guys want to see more guides, more helpful advice, please subscribe to me, and and I hope you all have a nice rest of the day.